Hello. Today is November 19th, 2025. My name is Brad Hoops. I'm the interviewer for the Northern Colorado Veterans History Project. I'm sitting today with Mr. James Roode at his home in Loveland, Colorado. We're here to talk about his experiences in the Vietnam War. Welcome, Jim, and thanks for sitting down today to tell your story.
Thank you.
Let's start out, if we could. Tell us a little bit about yourself, your date of birth, where you were born, a little bit about your family growing up.
Okay. I'm 85 years old. I was born in Fairbury, Nebraska. My father went to Oregon in the start of World War II. He was crippled. He had a bad hip, and went to build ships in place of serving in the military.
So, as a family, you guys all moved to, or was that before?
That was when I was just a year old. I was born in 1940, and the war started shortly after that. So I was about a year old. And we moved back to Fairbury, and my father and his three brothers built from scratch a meat packing plant. So they were in business slaughtering beef and making sausage and that sort of thing. Actually, the Fairbury weenie became fairly popular and was known in more places than Nebraska.
Really, yeah?
I went to a Catholic school through kindergarten through 8th grade. Went to Fairbury High School. I played football. I was a conference level player. I don't remember what they called it. All conference.
Oh, right, yeah.
As a guard tackle on the weak side of an unbalanced line. It was an interesting football position. Lots of pulls and going down the line. I went shortly after high school, or about the time I was graduating. I got into a boxing program. The chief of police ran that. When the South Nebraska Golden Glove Championship as a light heavyweight. Let's see. In around 1961, somewhere in there, 60, 61, I met my wife Sharon. She lived in a little town about 20 miles away. We dated for quite a while and got married in 60 or 61. When did we get married? 60? Yeah, about 62?
Yeah.
Okay. I think it was June 2nd, is that right?
Yeah, you're right.
Which, as we get further, it's surprising because it's also the day that I got hit on. 60 years later, no, 20 years later, 2 years later. So,
So what'd you do after high school and during that time period after high school then?
okay, that's when I was boxing, dating Sharon. I went to the University of Nebraska for a year and didn't study as hard as I should have. So I only stayed for 1 year. Then I went to trade school in Milford, took a carpentry curriculum, and I graduated from that. About that time, I moved out to Denver because there was very little construction type of work in Nebraska, and so I moved to Denver. I got a job framing almost immediately. There was huge demand for that. And then in 1963, I joined the military. That put me at 22. I had a friend that was just a month or two older than I was. He was getting drafted. I thought, my turn's next. And so I thought about that, getting drafted, and thinking being a grunt with a whole bunch of people that didn't want to be there was not going to be an enjoyable experience. And so I actually went and signed up to be a paratrooper.
Oh, wow.
So if you were drafted, they may or may not, probably wouldn't accept you for that. But if you're signing up, you sort of had your choice of what you wanted to do. And so I enlisted and signed up to be with Airborne Division.
Wow. Now, why of all the service branches, why did you choose the Army?
Well, I chose the Army and I chose Airborne because I'm thinking spending a bunch of time with a bunch of people that didn't want to be there was just not going to be it was going to be a truly unenjoyable experience. Yeah. Being with people that signed up and had a certain amount of balls to put it was going to be different. It was going to be with people that were there by choice.
Gotcha. Okay.
They were going to be a different group of people. They were in terms of mindset and what they wanted to accomplish, and that's what I wanted. And so I was happy to do that.
Then how long after you enlisted before you shipped off to basic then?
Okay, so I went directly from enlistment to Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri.
Oh boy! Oh wow!
and spent whatever it is, I don't remember, 8 weeks in Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri.
How was that adjustment going from civilian life into military life for you?
I didn't have any problems with it.
Okay.
I sort of understood. I had military uncles who talked about that, so I knew what to expect, and what I found was what I expected.
Okay.
I also knew that an airborne unit was going to be different in the way that they that they talked to people and handled people, and was ready for that. So I finished basic training. I was sent to Fort Ord, California for AIT. It was a combat AIT, and graduated from there. I'm thinking it was pretty close to Christmas time, or just shortly after Christmas time. I was in Fort Ord when President Kennedy got assassinated.
Oh wow!
So and I can actually remember that. I was on the bazooka range. I just hit an old Jeep with a bazooka and just was still servicing the weapon, getting ready for the next shot when they came up and said President Kennedy had been assassinated. We're going back now, and we ran the 5 miles from the bazooka range back to camp all the way. So that was pretty close to my graduation time, and graduated and got sent to Fort Benning, Georgia. That was where I took jump school, and I don't remember that. I think that's a four-week school. You make 5 jumps, all static line jumps. As a matter of fact, every jump that I ever made has been a static line jump.
Oh,
that means you hook up inside the airplane, and the static line open your chute when you go out.
Well, how was it? Here's this flatland Nebraska boy jumping out of an airplane. What was that first jump like? Well, do you remember that?
Yeah. studied a little and looked, at what that was like. So I had a fair amount of confidence. Surprisingly, I am afraid of heights.
Really?
If I'm near a 100-foot drop off cliff, I'm back away from it 5 or 10 feet. So I feel uncomfortable with that. But I had confidence in the chutes and maybe an unjustified confidence because I do have a couple of stories about that.
Oh, good. Well, please tell them. Yes. Yeah.
But I made my 5 jumps without incident and received a parachute badge. My next assignment was with the 82nd Airborne in Fort Benning, Georgia. I was assigned to the first 508, and basically 2 or 3 days into it, I got called in and told that I was going to be assigned to a special unit. It's called Davy Crockett. You ever heard of Davy Crockett?
No, please. Tell us about that.
Okay. Davy Crockett is a weapons system. It consists of an atomic bomb, a mortar-like unit to fire that was transportable on your back, and I believe it was five total members. It was probably 6. There was a second or first lieutenant that was in charge of the unit, a staff sergeant that was also in charge of the unit, a non-commissioned, and then a squad of, I think, 5 people. So that's what it was. I was assigned to the fire direction part of that unit. It was a brand new startup unit when I got there, and so we were given assignment. We went into a unit that didn't have any assignments at all, and I was assigned to the fire direction part of that. That means I was to take information from a forward observer, change it to the kind of information you could put on the gun to fire the gun. And I enjoyed that. I've always excelled at math type problems and logic type problems, and so that was a combination of those 2 things.
So basically, you were firing a nuclear mortar or a round?
Yeah, nuclear bomb. It was about like this.
I guess I'm trying to think, okay, so that thing's fired. Do you guys survive that? I mean, are you out of range from the...
It depends. We get fired any place from as short as a mile up to almost 10 miles.
Oh, okay.
So we could get out there, and I did quite a bit of personal study in what that thing could do, what you needed to do to survive. What they taught us some of that, but I did a whole lot more study. and so, in general, it was high, no problems whatsoever.
Okay.
For most times that you would fire, if you got really close, you better have a really nice position to get into, maybe underground. It was quite the weapon, though, and I think it was really a huge psychological weapon. If you think about it, we had the ability to jump in with this thing, so we could be inserted almost any place that you wanted to. Go someplace, set it up, and take out a battalion or more.
Yeah.
And that's really what it was. It was considered mostly a personnel weapon, but it could be used to take out a bridge or a city. Or I did some investigation on it. They didn't really give us yield things or that sort of thing, but I had a fair idea that I could kind of get information backtrack. intelligent guess, you would call it. I would say the weapon had about the same yield as what was dropped on Hiroshima. It was interesting. That particular assignment was 100% work on learning how to shoot that, what to do. We pulled no KP, we pulled no guard duty. 5 days, sometimes 6 days a week, we were in the field shooting that thing, learn how to do what you had to do to get the rounds on target.
Wow.
I jumped in with the group twice. We made two jump-ins where we were given a shoot from a spot and a target, and nothing else. Just maps of the area,
Huh.
and a time to shoot. And both times we were spot on target.
Really?
And on time.
Wow.
It was sort of an enjoyable experience. They of course wanted to know how confident they could be in what we were going to be able to do with that thing. So
Yeah, right.
so they put us in a real world exercise, once in Alabama and once in northern Florida.
Huh. Wow.
So in 65. The Cubans, as more or less advisors, helped start an uprising in the Dominican Republic. I don't know if you remember that at all or not.
A little bit, yes.
Okay.
But for those that watch this, give us a little background on that.
Sure. I happened to my Davy Crockett Unit was with the first or second 508. Who was the unit that was on alert when that happened. That means the alert unit has people on the ground sitting beside the airplane with parachutes ready to go. not the whole unit.
Yeah.
And the Davy Crockett was not in that position, but one or two companies were sitting on the ground, parachutes right beside a plane, ready to get on the plane. I mean, that's the situation at all times.
Yeah.
There's always a unit that's assigned to that, and we were assigned to that. And so, I believe it was on the second day after the alert. These guys went out the first day, and we were in an airplane on the second day going out, and with parachutes. When we left, there was still no security on the ground. About, well, maybe 2 hours before we were due to jump, we got word that the airport had been secured and we were going to laugh. This is at 10 o'clock at night, mind you. I was happy about that. I'd made night jumps. We had night jumps. Night jumps are not fun at all. And so it would have been even worse in a non-secured area that you knew nothing about, except, I'd seen maps of the area, but it wasn't Davy Crockett that went. It was the Davy Crockett Unit. It's just a group of soldiers.
Okay.
So we didn't take the weapon, and there was no thought at all of taking that down there. And so what I was just a soldier. And we stayed in Dominican Republic, I think about 3 months that I was there before I went back.
Really?
I had a couple of interesting experiences there. One night I was assigned to a 50 caliber machine gun on top of a 6 or 8 story building. Well, late in the afternoon, somebody started shooting at us from another building that was about a mile away. Fortunately, they weren't a very good shot because they might have been able to take us out on the first shot. But after that first round hit the side of the building, we turned the machine gun around and moved it up to the little group. There was a little slot in there where we could put the barrel through and get down. And I had binoculars, and I located where the firing was coming from. It was coming from a window. I located that window. And so the 50 caliber machine gun can fire a single shot. And I fired a single shot about 2 stories above where he was and tried to hit where he was. And then I started working the round down until the last shot hit about a foot above the top of the window. And then I clicked it down 1 click, set it on full automatic, and opened it up. That stopped the fire. Anyway, I thought that was pretty neat until 2 days later. I was on the, I think it was the south side of that big river. There's a big bay and a big river that comes into San Domingo, and it's just I believe south of the main city part. And there was a group over there, and I'm not sure what they were doing. But we started getting fire from similar spot like what I'd been doing before, way up in the building. There was a 105 recoilless rifle there. Are you familiar with that? Mm. A recoilless rifle, a 105 recoilless rifle is what it sounds like, about a 4-inch rifle that's 10 or 12 feet long. It fires. It's like an artillery piece, except it fires a rocket. So it's mounted on a Jeep, and it doesn't have a lot of recoil because it's a rocket. It also has a targeting mechanism of a 50 caliber single shot rifle. Those guys that recoilless rifle did exactly the same thing that I did, and then put a 105 round through the window. It blew the window out. It was what it did was way more than what I did with my 50 caliber machine gun. So I thought that was pretty neat. They one up me. So I was there anyway. I think it was around June. I don't remember exact dates, but it was May or June that my unit was pulled out of there and brought back to Fort Bragg. Shortly after that, I'm trying to remember when it was, but I think it was probably September. We were assigned to do a NATO exercise with the Turkish troops, and so we were flown from Fort Bragg into Turkey.
Oh wow!
To do it. That was interesting. There were camels. We were stationed right on the ocean beach, and there were camels down there. Anyway, a day in, we were scheduled to, like I say, a joint exercise with the Turkish troops. This involved flying out, jumping in, taking an objective. Well, my plane was the last plane out, and we flew north from Turkey out over I think is it called the Baltic Sea? Okay, turned and went.
The Black Sea.
Black Sea. That's right. That's exactly. It turned and went right someplace over the water. You could see the northern shore, but it was quite a ways away. Shortly after we made our turn, somebody says, "Look out there." I looked out there, and there was a MiG. that MiG was flying virtually inside our wing. He just behind our wing, probably 10 feet behind the wing, and his wing was inside of it.
Did you guys end up? Were you in Russian airspace, or what was the?
Probably.
Yeah.
The guy on the other side just said, "There's another one over here." I later learned there was also one directly behind us, and I don't remember how we got that information, but we did. But you could see this pilot was just dead serious. You know, he wasn't looking at us. He never looked at us, but you could see the expression on his face. He did. I'm not sure if he didn't want to be there or, you know, he anyway. We flew north probably another 5 or 10 miles and then turned and went back south. My suspicion is that we were probably a guinea pig to test a response.
Oh, wow.
I can't think of any other reason for that. We didn't jump. We went back to the airport and landed. That's one of the very few times that I took off in a C-130 and landed. So, but it was an interesting experience. So I got back from that, and a month later I got orders for Vietnam.
And this is what a 65, 66?
This is 65.
65.
I got the orders in about the middle of November of 65. I think I was given a 30-day leave time. You know, go talk to the family, enjoy yourself, get ready to go.
Now, this whole time through basic and your advanced training and everything you just talked about, did Sharon join you in Georgia, or did she stay?
Yeah, no, she actually came to California, so she was with me at Fort Ord.
Okay.
I couldn't leave the barracks except for occasional weekends, but she came to Fort Ord, and then she came to Fairbury,
Okay.
Fayetteville with me.
Okay.
So that was good. She was a good companion and a good morale booster.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah.
Went to I'm trying to think. Oakland. There's a out base in Oakland, and I went to that maybe 3 or 4 days before Christmas, and we were in there for 3 days. I took off from Oakland right before evening, just right before dark, on the 24th of December. Landed in Hawaii at about 10 o'clock at night. Spent about an hour on the ground there.
Good Christmas.
There's a little thing in here. Took off maybe a half hour before midnight on Christmas Eve. 2 hours later, we crossed the international date line. So my Christmas day was 2 hours long, which I thought was quite fitting.
Yeah, right.
So
Now, did you go over? Did your whole unit go over together then, or were you going over?
No, we
replacement?
we went as replacements.
Okay.
The assignment was to the 101st, and I was assigned to 1st 327th.
Oh.
So we even changed battalions.
Oh, wow.
So the landing in Saigon I thought was fairly interesting. I would guess that we made about a quarter-mile circle, or maybe less, in a 707. Looking almost straight down, maybe 5 degrees off of it, straight down the whole time. That was interesting. I never did get a pilot's license, but I got almost 30 solo hours in the air, so I knew a little bit about what he was doing. and I got a story about that too. I don't know if you want that one or not.
Please, yeah.
Okay. At about 25 hours in, I was assigned another instructor to do a test. You know, he wanted to see how I was doing in the test run. Of course, one of those things that they're going to do is see how you handle emergency situations. So we're up there flying, and all of a sudden, sput, and you don't know, but but you do know. He'd reach down and turned off the gasoline. We're in a situation. What are you going to do? I'm going to find a place to land this thing. Look. that field there looks like it might be okay. It's a little weedy, but I think we can put down there and it's long enough. So we make the turnaround, come back and do it, get ready to go in. We're maybe a block, two blocks out. We're still 500 feet high, and he says you're way too high. There's no way you can put this down inside of that. I said, watch. And I had my instructor showed me how to slip a plane, how to lose altitude really quickly. That wasn't something that was normally on the agenda, but he wanted to add a little spice. And so I had, in some of my solos, I'd practiced that several times. I knew what the plane would do and how much altitude it was going to lose, and what it did. And so I turned that plane right up on its wing like this, dropped it down, turned it back over the other way because you gain more control. And at the time that I cleared the fence, I was about 6 feet in front of the fence. And I could just see out of the corner of my eye, he's over there. He's not sure whether to grab that other stick or not. He never did, but he's never sure what's happened. And he forgets to turn the gas back on. So right when we cleared the thing, now we're coming in straight and level, he turns the gas back on. When the engine came back on, we were hitting the tops of the sunflowers and grass.
Oh, be there.
Was up there, and he never did grab the stick. He let me fly it back out. Then finally, when we were clearing it, he said, "How in the hell did you do that?" And I told him, so and so told me how to do that. I practiced it a lot at high altitude, so I get a feeling for it. I never knew I was going to get it to try it this soon, but he gave me the perfect opportunity.
I'll be there.
He said something, he mumbled something, and I didn't hear it, but I think it was, I'm going to talk to that guy. Okay, so that's kind of a side, but it's an interesting story.
So coming into Vietnam, you had to corkscrew in to tell.
Yeah, he just turned it up on the side, and we just flew really tight circles. All the way from, I don't know, 8,000, 10,000 feet.
Wow.
right down to from the last circle he was on approach. He was a pretty good pilot.
And that was because of being
Sure,
shot from the ground?
of fire from the outside.
Okay.
I suspect that what it was. Nobody told me,
right.
but
Yeah.
it made sense.
Yeah.
Okay,
So what was it? So you landed in
Saigon.
Saigon, and so it was in December. What's the weather like then?
It was hot, and it was miserably hot.
Well, that's why everybody says when they first open that door, it's like
it was.
Yeah.
That's exactly the feeling. And here, this is the day after Christmas.
Yeah.
So, I spent one night over there, and was moved up to my unit, I think by Jeep. I don't remember, either Jeep or helicopter. Most of what we did it was probably helicopter, but I don't remember it. And I walked into the company commander's office, and on the way in, I saw a bunch of guys working on an old shed. They were taking it apart, and he says, "It says on your record you're a carpenter, right?" And I thought about them guys working in that old dusty, dirty shed that might have bombs in it, things set up. I said, "No, sir, I don't know how that got on there." He says, "Well, it says right here." "I don't know how, sir, but I can tell you I was fire direction control for Davy Crockett. You know what that is?" "Yes." I said, "I could be a pretty good fire direction control for your mortar platoon." He says, "Well, I think," he said, we got a guy there. We might replace him." I said, I'll do a good job, sir. You know what the Davy Crockett is and what the requirements for that." Okay. So I'm assigned fire direction control for the 4 Deuce Mortar Platoon. And I went good. I like the people in the mortar platoon. So I'm thinking about what might be interesting next.
Well, so where was your base then? Where were you?
We were all over the place.
Oh, were you? Okay.
Yeah, I was at Phan Rang and Da Nang and Tuiwa and we were a lot of. I don't think we stayed any place more than 2 weeks, and most of the places not more than a week. We did a lot of go out and type of things. I walked patrols as much, not as much as a grunt would. Grunt's not the right word, but
Yeah,
not as much as a rifle company guy would do, but probably 2 or 3 times a month.
Really?
I walk patrol.
Talk about that. What's that like? I mean,
I never got a night patrol, so
yeah, but even
almost all my patrols were non-eventful, and the ones that were not non-eventful were
yeah.
run of the mill, not too bad.
What kind of conditions are you in? A jungle, high grass? What?
Everything. We were everything from the deep jungles to the high plain mountains. So I was all over the place.
I keep going back. I keep thinking of this Nebraska boy. Halfway across the world in a thick, dark jungle. It must have been like landing on Mars, I would think. I don't know.
Yeah, it was different. Yeah, I'm adaptable.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. Several events that were happened. One night we were as a company in a kind of a place where there was jungle fairly close. Wasn't much spread between where we were in the jungle. And the mortar platoon sergeant sent out 2 raw recruits. They just come in the day before to an outpost, sort of maybe 50 yards away from where the main unit was. Early warning system is what they're supposed to be doing. And they were sitting out there. They took a couple of steel crates with them. You see those little steel boxes that you put milk in or whatever. Yeah. 2 of them out there. One of them was sitting on that box up against a big elephant grass thing. Elephant grass was like this and like this. And the Viet Cong snuck up on him and threw a grenade that rolled right behind that elephant grass and blew his arm off. Of course, when the grenade went off, which was just 50 yards away from us, the sergeant says, we need to go out there and see what happened. So I went with a group of guys to go out. Nothing was happening right then. The youngster that was out there looking for his arm, which is really bad. And we got him back into a safer area, and I said, Sarge, we need a medic. You want me to go find one? Here we are, dark, but I knew where the medic set was. And so I'm walking through this was a cloudy night too, a really cloudy night. It was dark. I'm walking through there and I'm saying, I'm looking for a medic. I'm looking for a medic because of the fire. I don't want people to know. I want them to know what I'm doing. I'm there. Somebody says, medic tent's right over there. Thanks. I'm looking for a medic. I'm looking for a medic. And so I got a medic and he came back. And I walked back there. I'm looking around and everybody's there. I said, Sarge, you got anybody out on that outpost? And I didn't want to do that, but it's better to do that than not. Oh shit! Pick you a couple or 3 people and go out there. And of course, I knew that was going to happen when I asked. But like I say, it's better to be out there than to have nobody out there. So we went out there, and one of the guys made a little noise, and the Vietcong were still there. One of them had an AK-47, and one of them had a bolt action. And the guy with the AK-47, I presume the bolt action too, probably, but you couldn't tell, started laying down fire. I'm laying in the grass about as tight as I can get to it, and I can hear the bullets hitting the leaves over me, which is kind of makes you feel a little better. You know, this guy's not spraying the ground. But I didn't shoot. I kind of knew where he was, but I didn't want to give away my position. I wasn't going to give away my position before I could take him out. So that settled down after a little while, and we just stood there probably for an hour, me laying in my position, him not doing anything. But I know about where he is, and it might not have been a full hour, but here comes a friend of mine out, and he's got an M70 grenade launcher. That's a little far. Do you know what it is? Mm-hmm. Oh, okay, yeah. So he's got the M70. He gets up very close to me. Where are they? So I explained to him where they are. He says, I'm going to stand up. I'm going to stand up and I'm going to shoot in there. I said, okay, give me a minute. Give me a couple of minutes to get away from you, because they're going to lay down. You know, you want to move away too. I'm going to go this way, and then you go the other way when you. Okay, so he gives me a couple minutes to get 10 yards or so away. He stands up and shoot, boom, and I can see the flash because I raised my head, not very much, but enough so I can see the area, and I see where it hits, and he's probably 8 or 10 feet behind me, behind him, 4 or 5 yards, not very much. So. First of all, they know where he just stood up at, so I want him to move to me.
Yeah.
Okay. I said, okay, you almost got him. You got to be about 4 or 5 yards shorter, and maybe a yard to your right. Okay, let me let me move again. After I moved, he stood up and he put it right on top of him, stopped him. That was into it, because they fired again quite a bit after he did. This stopped it. I said, man, you got balls, but I appreciate it.
Oh, boy. Oh.
We sent a squad out to where they were the next morning. Didn't find either one of them, no bodies. We did find blood on the ground, and we found a huge amount of ammunition spent ammunition on the ground, which means it's unusual for Vietcong, because normally they retrieve their spent ammunition. So they got the hell out of there without doing that. That's an interesting side story.
Oh man, I can't imagine being in a situation where you're being shot at, bullets flying over your head, and
it's like I say, hearing them hit 2 or 3 feet above you is sort of because he's covered that area. You know, and you kind of feel safe. Maybe you should, but I was waiting. I never could get. I was waiting until I could get a spot where I could take him out, and I never could get high enough to see him when he was shooting. Because I didn't want to be up. When he was shooting, I wanted to be flat on the ground as I could. And so I don't know if that time was ever going to come when I could get a spot where I could see him or not. But at least I was going to keep him from moving toward the camp. I was see if he got up and started moving, I was going to take him out. I had that thing set on full auto. It was ready to go. Okay.
So you said you moved around to various bases and stuff. Were these large bases, or were they small forward bases? What would you?
Both of those conditions. Like I say, I was at Phan Rang and Da Nang and Tui Wa and a couple of others that I can't remember the names. Most of those are up close to the coast.
And larger, I mean, you're
Well, we
much safer than these smaller bases.
Yeah, nighttime.
Yeah.
The base where the guy got his, it wasn't a base. It was just I think it was headquarters company only that set up, but that was in an inland spot. Okay, and we would occasionally go inland and do that, but not very often. And usually, if we did, it was in a spot that had several hundred meters of open rice fields around. As a matter of fact, we were in one of those when I was sitting out and I saw a flash out there about 400 or 500 yards. I hear boom, it's a mortar, and it lands maybe 100 yards down pretty close to the headquarters tent. And we had some really good. We had our 4 deuces set up out there, and we had some really good gunners. One of the gun sergeants set up, got his gun ready. Either the second or third round, he put a round right on top of him, shut him down.
Wow.
He was good.
Huh.
So that was interesting too.
What were your living conditions normally like? Talk a little bit about sleeping conditions, the food. I'm sure that varied too as you moved around, but generally.
Probably 80% of the time was sea rations, which are okay. You get used to sea rations, and you know what you like, and you do some trading. About the same amount of time was spent in a pup tent. Maybe somewhere between 10 and 20% of the time was spent in a bigger tent. 15 or 20 people tent. We were in one of these 4 positions. Guns were set up because we had patrols out, and I got a call from the Forward Reserve that I didn't know. He introduced himself and he said, "I'm with a group of Montagnards here. Do you know who the Montagnards were?" "Yeah." "Okay." He says, I'm looking at a company of North Vietnamese regulars.
Wow.
He says, "I want you to get your guns set up and ready for everybody to shoot. And I'm going to start giving you
Coordinates?
Yeah. He says, but alert your platoon that this is going to be a good one." Okay. I said, "Okay." And so I said, "Sarge, gunners," I said, we got a thing here. We're shooting a full platoon. Set up your guns, get ready to fire." What that means is we're going to have one gun shooting, and every time they make an adjustment, all the other gunners are going to make an adjustment on their thing. They're not shooting, but they're following every direction. Okay. So we shoot around, and he makes a big correction, close to 500 yards. Maybe it wasn't that big. I'm trying to remember. I think I'm thinking about something. I think that one was closer to that. Anyway, we only shot 2 rounds, and our third round was a fire for effect. So he was really good. And we start that fire for effect, and I, "God damn it, you're right on top of him! Way to go!" And the guns probably fired 4 or 5 rounds each. And he says, "Ceasefire." He says, "They're moving. Wait a minute." He says, add 200, left 100, fire for effect." Okay, wow, you got it right in the middle of them again.
Wow.
That was early evening, and they sent a full company out this time to the spot. 66 bodies. North Vietnamese regular company is about 120.
Oh, really?
Some are between, maybe closer to 110. 60, because Vietnamese normally carry their bodies out with them when they go. 66 bodies means that we probably got close to 100, over 80.
Wow.
So that was an interesting. I fired for effect a couple of other times that they were much less. They were some. I think one of them was even a kind of a searching type of fire. So that was really the only big one where we had a target that was really complimentary to the company.
Yeah. Wow.
Okay, so around the 2nd of June, it was either the 2nd or 3rd of June, which is right on my anniversary. By the way, I told you about a guy named Carpenter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Did you do any research?
I didn't get a chance to, but I want you to tell that story to build up to your story.
Okay. Carpenter played football for the Army football team. And they called him the Lonesome Man, and they had a thing where he would go way out on the sideline, sit out there and hope that the other team would forget about him, and then go downfield. So they called him the Lonesome Man, and they pulled that off successfully several times.
Huh.
Carpenter became our officer. He was. Don't quote me on the company, but I think it was A Company of the 1st 327th. I think it was A Company of my battalion.
Oh.
Okay. One night, his company got completely overrun by a battalion of North Vietnamese. He was hugely outmanned, and they got completely overrun. He called napalm in on his own position to disperse. But probably the right thing to do. I don't know. I'm not going to second guess him.
Yeah.
I talked to men in the hospital after that didn't think it was the right thing to do. Guys that got burned. On the other hand, I can imagine being completely overrun and having a full battalion right around you. You're going to be a prisoner, and so is all your guys. So anyway, on the day after that happened, my unit was called in to replace. And I probably hadn't been on the ground 2 minutes when I see the battalion commander, and he's walking right toward me. Are you James Roode? Yes, sir. You are fire direction control for the 4 Deuce mortars, right? Yes, sir. That means you know how to be a forward observer, right? Oh, no. Yes, sir. Okay. We want you to go with a squad from the 81, the Company A's mortar platoon. They have a bunch of 81s. That's a little bitty mortar. I want you to go down the trail here a couple miles, find a little spot where there's kind of an opening. You're going to be a forward observation post, a forward warning post. And what we want you to do is call fire in right on your spot. So if you see something coming, you can call for this fire, get the hell out of there, and that'll cover your retreat. So this is what we're doing. So out we go down the trail. It's a pretty big trail. We get out there about 2 miles, and here's a little kind of a park-like thing, maybe 30 yards long and 20 yards wide. This looks like the spot. We're already inside Cambodia. I have a map. I know where we are. We're inside Cambodia. Okay, so I've got a squad. I think 5 men. A buck sergeant leading them. A Vietnamese regular soldier that has a German Shepherd. That's who we are. Okay, I get it set up. This is for observer. Go ahead and fire around. I give them the coordinates. Fire around 400 or 500 yards off of us. Boom. That sounds good. It's more than 500 yards away. Drop 500, right 100. This here. Boom. This one's in here pretty close. Maybe feels like somewhere between 60 or 70 yards out and 40 yards out. Drop 5-0. Plot this as your fire for effect. Do not fire. I repeat, do not fire. He repeats that to me. Plotted as fire for effect. Do not fire. Yeah. Little sergeant laying next. We're laying on the ground when we're doing this. You know, talk. He's laying next to me, close enough that I could reach him. He says, "Can I see your mic?" Sure. I don't think that round was close enough to us. I want you to go ahead and fire it. I said, "God damn!" And I grabbed the mic out of his hand, and I says, "Don't fire that! Don't fire!" And I hear, "Whoom!" This is the round going off. Then I hear, "Whoom, whoom, whoom, whoom!" They're firing all 5 guns.
Oh man! How long would a round take?
It's quite a while, and I know about when it's going to hit.
Yeah.
So I turned around with the guy behind me. I said, "This is going to be right on top of us. Put your nose in the ground." And then I did the same thing. I'm laying like this. That round hit about where you are for me. Took the top of my hand off. Broke my jaw. I had the steel pot on. Fortunately, it was almost 90 degrees away from the thing, but it did break my jaw. It was just angled enough that I cut a piece in the jaw and broke my jaw. Had a couple pieces in my shoulder that didn't do anything, but that one big piece took. And of course, my hand was a foot closer.
Yeah.
You know. And he was laying beside me like this. So he's right here, the round's right there, and he's like this. I get on the radio and I call and I said, ceasefire, ceasefire. By the way, this is a turbo motor platoon, and the other 2, I didn't hear a round that landed within, the other 4 that fired, I didn't hear one that landed within 100 yards of us. It would have been absolutely worthless as a blocking fire.
Yeah.
It was a really piss poor platoon in every way that you can think of. And so anyway, I got on the radio and I said, "We have 2 men hit up here. We need a medic for one right now, and probably a stretcher." And they got up there in a surprisingly short amount of time. We were 2 miles out, and I bet they weren't much over 20 minutes getting up there. And they treated me, and they carried him back on a stretcher. There was a helicopter already waiting. By the time that I got to the thing, there was a helicopter sitting there waiting for me. As a matter of fact, that's where I went. I went and sat on the side just set up on the helicopter, waiting for it. Probably took him an hour to get him down. So.
Any idea why he said that? Why he?
I don't. And of course, I don't know what happened to him. We were both put on the helicopter and taken to a field hospital, a tent type hospital in Pleiku. Okay, and I probably spent an hour and a half in there where mostly they didn't do nothing, but they bandaged it up some more and give me an antibiotic and another shot of morphine. And the medic that got me in the field gave me a shot of morphine.
So you weren't in any pain then?
I wasn't. No, I was comfortable. Yeah. Morphine's an interesting thing. It doesn't seem to affect your thought processes, your way to process information, but it does, and make you feel comfortable. So I got shipped out in about an hour and a half and was taken to I think it's Da Nang. It's a mortar cement mortar type of hospital. It's a base on the coast and on the northern end of South Vietnam. and they didn't bring him, and I don't know anything more about his situation.
Yeah, yeah. Wow. And how long were you then in the hospital there in Da Nang?
About 2 days.
2 days.
Yeah, I had the battalion commander was in my room the next morning, wanting to know what happened. I told him exactly what happened. I was pissed.
Oh.
I was really pissed,
Yeah.
and I was pissed at the sergeant, and I was especially pissed at that lieutenant that gave the order, that forwarded the order to fire, that he didn't ask for an explanation. So I don't know if anything happened to him or not, but I expressed what I thought ought to happen to him.
Yeah, right.
and of course, he said he asked questions and said almost nothing. I got zero information from him about what to expect. But that's the way it went. So I was probably in Da Nang, like I say, 2 or 3 days, and then I shipped out and went to Fitzsimmons.
And where'd you go from there?
Fitzsimmons.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah, that's where they traded me.
And how long were you then in Fitzsimmons?
I got out almost a year late. Well, over a year later, almost a year after my term of enlistment was up. My term of enlistment was up in September of '66, of the year it was in. So I was only June, July, August. I was only 3 months from my term of enlistment.
Oh,
No, they kept me another year after that. I had 7 operations in the hospital.
Do you still have lingering effects from those wounds today, or?
Well, yeah. When it took all the ligaments out and all the bone out of there. Okay, and one of the things they do to make it so you can move your hand again, you have redundant tendons in your arm. So they take one of those redundant tendons out and use it to hook to the tendon here and a tendon back up there. Well, the next day after they did that operation, it broke. So they fixed it. What I suspect is that they didn't really have enough tendon to do a good job. So I've never been able to close my hand like this, because I think the tendon was probably too short. Because the first day that they did it, I could close my hand all the way, but I never was able to do that after that. I stretched it some by just practicing to where I could get it down to here, with no pressure. You know what I mean? But I could touch that. But that requires constant everyday things. So right now you can see, I can probably get another 1/8 of an inch right now if I stretch it. It hasn't bothered me hugely. It's some. But I was a framer when I left.
I was going to ask you. That was my next question.
I got a framing job when I came back, and I can these fingers are probably
So you went on framed after.
Yeah, I could still drive a 16 penny nail with a single swing, even afterwards. Lot more arm action and lot more body.
Yeah.
So I couldn't do it quite as fast as I could before I did it, because it required a little more wind up. But I could still drive a 16 penny nail with a single thing, and that would be common. I wasn't far behind.
Wow.
I got one of the first things that after I got back, I got a framing job. It's just a job, and the foreman of the group said, "You think you're pretty fast, huh? We're gonna have a race." and I beat him in a race, and then he fired me. I was probably a little boisterous, not a tremendous amount, but a deserving amount.
Yeah, right.
And he said, "I'll show you," and he did. That was probably good. I don't think I'd enjoyed working with that group anyway.
So you stayed on an extra year, so medically discharged, and then got out, and then got back into construction? Or?
Yeah, actually, I didn't do that immediately. I got a job with a car rental company at Stapleton, and I worked on that about a year. It was okay. It was a nice job, and they were nice people, but it wasn't really what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And my hand was getting stronger. Yeah, I couldn't have swung the axe immediately after getting out of there. But it was.
And the reverse question to one I asked you earlier, how was that transition going from the Army, and particularly everything you just experienced, back into civilian life again? Was that much of an adjustment for you?
No, it didn't seem to be, and I didn't experience a lot of the hatred for
You didn't get any?
that,
Oh, good.
The people that I talked to were more accepting, and I talked to a lot of them about what the situation was over there, what we did, why we did it, and in general, there isn't anything that I did over there that I'm ashamed of or not proud of, and so I told them what I did, and I didn't get any backlash from that at all.
And you were kind of in the early part of the war too. I mean, I think all the protests kind of in the late '60s.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That wasn't going on. It was going on a little bit, but not.
Yeah.
I was probably close to one of the first ones back because I had less than a year to go when I went over there in my enlistment, and so. And the 101st was one of the first units in there following the Special Forces. So I think one of the cavalry units was in there about the same time, and so there weren't very many people in there when I was over there.
Yeah. What's it like? Here I'm a civilian. I don't remotely know what it's like to be in a war zone. I mean, I just can't imagine what life in a war zone is like. I mean, I can't imagine you could ever let your guard down or your constant. I mean, then I look, the way you were talking about things. You're out in a pup tent, out in conditions. I mean, your food was okay. Hygiene probably wasn't great. You weren't getting enough sleep. I mean, you got all these things playing against you. On top of that, you got the stress of war. How do you think you got through that period of time?
I don't know. I can't answer that. I can tell you that I learned to sleep like this. One eye open and one ear cocked. And I can get. I still do that. If the cat jumps from the dresser to the floor in the middle of the night, I can hear that.
Yeah.
I can get up at any time in the middle of the night without an alarm clock. I still set one because every once in a while that fails me, but
you can tell your mind I need to get up at 4 a.m.
and normally I'll wake up at 3 a.m. and then I can kind of drift off back and forth from there.
Oh, interesting. Wow. Did you have when you were over in country? Did you have much contact with the locals? Would you do? Oh, okay.
Very little. Most of the time we were in the field.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And were you over there long enough to get an R&R or?
No.
Your R&R was in the hospital.
Yeah, the day after Christmas hit in early June, so it wasn't very much time.
Yeah. And then talk a little bit about. Let's talk post.
One thing life. I did play quite a bit of poker. At nighttime.
Is that what you guys would do? That's another question too. When you weren't on duty, what would you do to kill time? And
poker.
Yeah.
That was mostly it. I sent a few bucks home.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be out there with a lot of money in my pocket.
Yeah, right. Yeah, nowhere to spend it anyhow.
Yeah.
Did anything sort of like a USO show or anything ever go through?
I never saw any of that. I carried a .41 Magnum revolver over there with me, and her dad gave me a .32 caliber semi-automatic pistol, a little tiny one, probably not not a lot of firepower, but I wanted a revolver because I already knew that the M16 was not a very reliable weapon, and I wanted something that if that went down that I could still protect myself in close quarters.
Yeah.
And so I carried that 41 Magnum over there. When I first got over there, I was walking. I can't remember where I was going, but a second lieutenant, he'd obviously just arrived. And he said, "Come here." I walked over there. He says, "What do you got there?" I said, "It's 41 Magnum, sir." He said, "That's not authorized. I don't want to see that on you anymore." I said, "Sir, this is a friendly weapon. You'd very much like to keep it that way." He didn't salute me back. He looked at me. I could tell he was thinking, this is a situation that I don't want to fuck up.
Yeah.
And finally, he just turned and walked off. I saw him about a week later. He was maybe 50 yards off, and I had the firearm on my hip. And I didn't wave. I looked at him, and I see he looked at me. And I just kept going the way I was going. No, he just kept going the way he was going.
Wow.
I wasn't about to give that 41 Magnum up.
Yeah, right.
That's a lifesaver.
Yeah.
And what I did was kind of radical, but it wasn't. It was hard to interpret whether it was a threat or not. You had to interpret your own way.
Yeah, right.
and I figured he probably would, because who would say that to him except somebody that intended to follow through?
Yeah, right. Wow. How was communications back and forth between like you and Sharon or your family? I mean,
How often did we write, Sharon? Do you remember?
What?
How often did we write letters back and forth? You wrote more often than I did, but
When you were in Vietnam?
yeah.
How often?
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't remember, but not too often.
Well, I was only over there for 6 months. You probably had more than 6 letters, and I probably had more than twice that many. I mean, I got more.
But that in today's world where we got cell phones and computers, letters were your only option primarily.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely. Yeah.
And how were you getting? I'm sure through letters, but was there other ways? How were you knowing what was going on in the rest of the world or how the war was going? Were you getting any sort of outside news at all?
Very little.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, I was there, so I could see how it was going.
Yeah, right.
And we kicked ass wherever we wanted to kick ass. And I still to this day don't understand why we weren't allowed to win this.
Well, that's always one of my questions too. Now that you've had 50 plus years to almost 60 years now to chew on it, what are your thoughts of the war then, and what are your thoughts of the war now? I mean,
I think the example probably affected a lot of decisions, world decisions, and I think it probably affected them positively for us. On the other hand, I still think we should have been allowed to win the war, and I think it would have been even better for us. The only downside would be maybe that those in charge might have felt too powerful.
yeah, I've heard from so many veterans that felt like they were fighting the war with one arm tied behind their back.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, it's awful.
Yeah, wherever we went, we mopped up. I mean, they could amass and make surprise attacks and overrun a company like they did, but the next day they were they were paying the price.
So let's talk a little bit now. Your post-war years. You came back, car rental, and then went into construction and did that for a career, or?
Oh, I did that until I was getting too old to do that. I'm trying to think of exact sequence of events. I should have done this beforehand, but I didn't. 70s, I went over to Grand Junction. I got a job over there as a salesman for a lumber yard. Grand Junction was booming at that time. Shortly after I took the job, they put me in charge of the trust department. They had a trust building company there, and I became manager of the trust department. So I learned a lot about trusses and how to do that. I hadn't been over there a year when the Western Slope crash happened. Okay, and of course the lumber yard and the trust plant almost virtually shut down, and of course I was laid off. Came back to Loveland and got a job there was a truss plant down here on First Street by the railroad tracks, and went to work there as their estimator. In other words, take the plan to figure out how many trusses, what their shape is, that sort of thing, and that was my job. And I don't remember how long that actually lasted, but he eventually sold that company to an outfit in Longmont. I went down there and worked. I worked 2 days and decided I probably wasn't going to like it, so demanded a raise and walked out. And then I went. I got a job with the Fort Collins lumber yard, but they had a truss plant in Greeley, so I got a job doing the same thing there. And in late '80, they sold that, or not didn't sell it. They just closed it down. They didn't sell it. They just closed it down. And I had a lot of people that I was talking to. I was estimator there, but a lot of people knew me, and so I decided I could start a business where I was brokering trusses, designing the truss system, buying it from another company and selling it. And so before I decided to do that, I went to talk to several customers. Here's what's going to happen. Here's what I'd like to do. Are you interested in buying trusses? And I always did a good job. I worked on a lot of complicated stuff, and I was pretty good at designing the truss system. And so I got a lot of customers before this ever started. So I did that for almost eight years. Shortly after I did that, I went back to college.
Oh, really?
I'm 50 years old. In 1990, I went back to college.
Oh, wow.
And the idea was to become a civil engineer, which I did. I graduated with a civil engineering degree in 1999. 9 years, almost 10 years after I went back. And I paid for that through this trust business, and also.
Didn't use the GI Bill?
Pardon?
You didn't use the GI Bill for it?
No, and I can't remember why I was not. For some reason, I wasn't eligible. I can't remember.
Really?
I
Okay.
can't remember whether I might have got a few bucks off the start. I don't remember that though.
Okay.
But I was getting a disability, which at that time was a couple $100, which went a lot further in 1990 than it does now. And the trust business was doing all right, and I was making enough to do that, and that allowed me to go out and sell trusses and to do truss work during the day, and most of my college classes were at night.
Wow.
Or if they weren't at night, at least I didn't have a job that required me to be right there right now.
Yeah.
So that worked out pretty good. I quit that in the last year, and maybe 3 or 4 years before the last year, I started taking some computer science work. What I could see was if the computers were beginning to do what I was doing, they could do it a hell of a lot faster and probably more accurately. I could see that this wasn't going to be a lasting operation, and I kind of saw that before I even went back to school.
Wow.
That was part of the equation of going back to school. And so, in 1999, I graduated with a BS in civil engineering. And it turns out that I was 3 hours short for getting my degree. They gave me a degree and diploma, but I was 3 hours short, and it sort of was a diploma with an asterisk. And right after I graduated, I got a job with a company called Truss Joist. You know what truss joists are? It's an engineered wood product, like beams and joists made out of engineered wood.
Oh, right, okay.
Okay, they had a division that did software so that a lumberyard guy could take their software and decide what he needed to do the job that he did. Okay, and they had a software department in Denver that did that. They wanted a civil engineer. So I put it in my application. I said, I had also taken, I almost had a minor. I was about 3 hours short of a minor in computer science.
Wow.
As a matter of fact, that was my idea. If I could find something that was computer related and engineering related. There aren't very many of those out there, but on the other hand, there aren't very many people that have that background. So I talked to the gal, and she said, "You're perfect, but you're really old." That wasn't exactly what she said, but that's what she meant.
Yeah.
She said, "I'm going to offer you something. I'm going to offer you a 90-day internship. Within 90 days, we'll reevaluate you." I said, "Sure." Okay, so I accepted that, and things are going along good. About 2 weeks before my 90 days are up, she gives me an assignment, and the assignment involves Excel. Well, I knew a little bit about software. I'd worked a little bit with Word, not a lot, just a tiny bit. I didn't know Excel at all.
Yeah.
I really screwed up the assignment.
Oh.
I thought, oh shit. 2 weeks to go, and I just blew my chance. 3 days before they were bringing out a new version of the software, this started. It's testing time now. They've been doing a little testing, but now the full version of the product's out, ready to be used. We're testing it now to put it on the market in another week. And she called me in and she said, "Do you like to spend your last couple of days testing?" I said, "Yeah." Sat down the first day and I found 2 major problems in the program, 2 major bugs. They had 2 guys in there that for the last 2 months have been working on preparing how to test this thing. Some automated software to test it, and then what are we going to test in the way of just getting in there. They found one minor thing through their online. Neither one of them found a single thing through random testing, and so the 2 bugs were really bad bugs.
Wow.
Things. The next day I found another one. The day that my last day was, she called me into our office. She said, "What happened on the Excel project?" I thought, this is not going the way I want it to. I said, "Well, I'd never used Excel. I didn't really have a good understanding of it, and I really screwed it up." I said, if I had another chance, I would have, and had any idea, I would have prepared, but I was utterly underprepared, and my work was not acceptable. She said, "But you did do a pretty good job on the testing. You kind of like that, huh?" "Yes, ma'am." She said, "We're going to keep you on. You're going to be part of the software department, and one of the main things you're going to be doing is testing software on a regular basis, and possibly doing a little writing." And so I worked there until about 26. I worked about 6 or 7 years. And they were kind of winding down that department, and the manager, not her, but the manager of the whole shooting match called me in one day and said, "You interested in retiring?" And I said, "Well, not quite yet." She said, "Well, I'm going to offer you early retirement, and I'm going to give you if you want to leave now, I'm going to give you a full year's pay plus $50,000.
Ah.
I said, let me think it over. You can't sound too enthused about that. So I came in the next day and I said, I think I'll go ahead and take that. And so I retired in about 2006, somewhere in that.
Oh, outstanding. Yeah.
And the first thing I did was join the Loveland Fishing Club, and shortly after that they made me secretary. And I joined the gun range out of Al Canyon, and they made me secretary. and I've been doing those kind of things ever since.
Oh, good. Oh, excellent. Yeah.
I'm also on the board of the Loveland Photographic Society.
Excellent.
So,
yeah. Family at all? Children, grandchildren?
I have 2 grandchildren, and my son, of course. I have a single child, a boy. He is vice president of maintenance at Denver Water.
Wow.
So he's got a nice job, really nice job. My oldest grandson was a baseball player and played baseball for 4 years at Swanee University, which is in Tennessee. They're known for the baseball program. And he recently got a job in Atlanta as a with a financial company. So he's done well. Younger grandson, he's the fisherman hunter in the group. The older grandson does some of that too, and we get the chance to do that, which I thoroughly enjoy. The younger one took it on like gangbusters, and he and I have made several fishing trips.
Nice.
He's now going to Oklahoma State. He's getting pretty close to graduating from that. He's also guides float trips on the North Platte River in the summer.
Oh, nice. All right.
So he went. There's a group up there that I forgot, Grumpy Old Men or Sourpusses or something like that. Anyway, it's a millionaires club, probably billionaires that have probably 1,000 acres and tennis courts and golf courses, and they also have this guy that does float trips that it's on their property that is available to them. He sells float trips to me or to you or to anybody else, but he also services them.
Gotcha.
So that's where he's working. He's working as a float guide for fly fishing for them.
Nice.
Yeah, I taught him everything he knew, and then he went way by me a long time ago. And he can outfish me by 3 to 1 probably. I'm still a pretty good fly fisherman.
Outstanding. Outstanding. Well, Jim, as we start to wind down this interview, is there anything I didn't ask you that you wanted to talk about? Any other stories that have kind of floated to the top as we've been sitting here? So that I know we probably only got the tip of the iceberg of your story, but do you think anything else you want to add to round it out, or do you think we pretty much covered everything you'd like to cover?
Here's one that happened during my Army career.
You want to tell this story?
Well, it's up to you.
No, please do. Yeah, let's
Okay.
get it on. Yeah.
You want me to tell? You want me to read that?
Yeah.
Okay. February 1964. Jump school, Fort Benning, Georgia. The instructor is speaking. A critical skill to learn is how to identify parachute malfunction and how to deal with it. This may involve emergency procedures, including when and how to deploy the reserve chute. He went on to describe several malfunctions, including Mae West, a malfunction named after a movie star. Fast forward 1 year, Hope Army Airfield, Fort Bragg, North Carolina, 10 a.m. takeoff in the workhorse C-130. 60 troopers divided evenly on each side of the plane. About half getting into their morning nap, the rest sitting quietly between the row of 4 Allison T-56 turboprops. I sit in the middle of the left-hand stick. About 30 minutes into the flight comes the order. Stand up. That means get off your butt. Hook up. That means hook your static line into the overhead cable. This is what opens your chute. Check equipment. Each trooper checks the parachute pack of the person in front of him. Stand in the door. Troopers on each side of the nearest door get in position to disembark. Go. Get the hell out of there. I move with the crowd and make a normal exit. Uh-oh. I did not feel the normal jolt that happens when you go from 100 miles an hour plus to 0. Looking up, there's May in all her glory. 2 small connected umbrellas instead of the big chute that you expect to see.
Oh, jeez.
What did the instructor say? Oh, yeah. Find the wind direction. Pull the reserve cord, catch the reserve that emerges, and throw it downwind so that it deploys away from you. I did this, but to my chagrin, there was not enough wind, and the reserve deployed into the shod lines of Miss West, completely covering my face, rendering me sightless. This is a pickle, a short pickle. I'm approaching the ground much faster than the human body can endure such a collision. Remembering the instructor explaining how this malfunction occurs, and it is possible to fix it in the air. The shroud lines are over the top of the canopy, creating the bra-like structure the failure is named after. I also remembered what it looked like when I first observed it before getting the reserve in my face. I grabbed the right-hand riser, that's the strap that connects the harness to the shroud lines, and to begin to jerk with everything I've got. To add to something I didn't write in here, I'm full of adrenaline right now. That means I'm pulling myself up 2 or 3 feet every time I jerk. It feels like it's moving. Maybe 15 or 20 of those. And poof, bump. I touched the ground in what's the softest landing I had ever experienced. The chute had opened just feet off the ground, giving that little bump that the parachute gives you when it opens up. I rolled over, looked up, and watched the last man exit the aircraft. Thank God for a great instructor.
Oh, man.
I wish I would have known who he was, because I would like to thank him.
Yeah, right. Oh, man. How many jumps altogether did you do, you figure?
I think it was 32.
32.
Yeah. I had another close experience with that too.
Please tell that, yeah.
Okay, we were making what they called a simulated combat jump. That means the whole battalion is going to jump in at one time, and from a much lower altitude. This combat jump was going to happen. It did in fact happen in a little island called Vieques. It's between Puerto Rico and Brazil, about halfway. Little tiny island, just over a mile wide and about 5 miles long. So we fly from Fort Bragg to the island, put the chutes on about an hour before arrival. We're coming in across the narrow portion. In other words, we're coming in like this, the mile wide and 5 miles long. I exit the door and there's jumpers all around me, and I see a guy that's probably 50 yards away from me, and he's drifting a little bit toward me. So I grab the riser. These old chutes have a certain amount of steerability. It's kind of like steering a bus or maybe a train. So I take all I can get until I see that were no longer coming together and now starting to move apart. And so I turned around to see what's around me in the other direction. And here's a guy that's doing exactly the same thing. He's pulling away from somebody else, and we're coming directly together. I'm gonna hit his chute right smack in the middle. So I start to grab the other quart riser and pull it in a different direction. And I'm looking and I'm saying, I'm not going to be able to move this. We're going to get together before our momentum stops.
Oh, jeez.
So I turn around and grab the riser, exactly the pull that I've been going, to increase speed going toward him. And that's what I did. I started pulling to go exactly toward him. And I hit his chute just so that I could take a big step up and kind of raise my legs and clear the chute.
Huh.
I can tell you a parachute's like a huge, very soft pillow. But I ran across the diagonal of the chute. I had to concentrate to avoid hitting. There's a hole in the middle of it.
Oh, right.
I had to concentrate to enjoy hitting the hole in the middle of it. Of course, my chute's collapsing all the time I did that, and I come off the other side. He's yelling at me the whole time. What? Every explicit that you could think of. And I'm not answering because I'm concentrating on what I'm doing. And I come off and I probably fall 100 yards before my chute opens again, but it does. And I'm pretty close to the ground. But it's all safe, no damage.
How are you to this day? I mean, there's pretty much every airborne person I've ever talked to said that it took a toll on their body.
I didn't feel that. I was in pretty good shape, and I just sort of enjoyed it. My battalion, they took the whole battalion out for PT one morning, and I was wondering, what the hell is this all about? And they started us double time at about 7:30 in the morning, and we double timed until noon.
Oh.
Everybody that couldn't finish it was in trouble. They got extra KP and extra guard duty. I was in pretty good shape. I didn't have any trouble. I didn't have any trouble finishing it. But yeah, we were in good shape, and I didn't feel it take a toll on my body. I felt it.
Oh, okay.
That it actually improved it.
Okay. Yeah.
And I ran a marathon later in my life, and I thought that took a toll on my body.
Huh. Wow.
All the training for it was good, but the marathon itself, I felt was not a good training method, and it was not good.
Well, the last question I always like to ask in these interviews, as you look back on that period of time in the Army, and particularly over in the Dominican Republic and Vietnam and everything you did, how do you look back on that? Do you look back on that as just a chapter in your life, or did it change you, affect you at all?
I probably did, but I don't know how. But it sure created a lot of stories.
Yeah. Good. Well, Jim, I want to thank you for sitting down to tell your story this morning, but just as important, I want to thank you for your service to our country.
You're welcome.
Yeah.